A very good afternoon to one and all. So, welcome to the next live webinar from Alleviate Pain Management Clinic. My name is Dr. Khaja Javed Khan. I am a pain management consultant, and in today's webinar, we will be talking about a very common but yet not so well understood topic. It's about understanding long COVID syndrome and its aftermath. So I'll try to keep this presentation as simple as possible so that most of the viewers can understand about this, not getting too technical about it, but still driving the message through, right? So let me start off now. So I would be talking on long COVID syndrome and its aftermath. The overview of my presentation would be under the following headings: introduction, understanding long COVID, causes, risk factors, symptoms, effects of long COVID, management of long COVID syndrome, and the conclusion. So, coming to the introduction, COVID-19 pandemic has wreaked havoc in everyone's day-to-day lives. Contracting the COVID infection is in itself a nightmare to the patient and a huge setback to their families. So there are a few questions which are there in everybody's mind once someone has got infected with this deadly virus. First is, does this infection go away completely? The second question is a negative RT-PCR test sufficient to tell ourselves that we can relax and we are cured from this problem? Right, so the answers to this would be in the following slides. So here we have a diagram where we are seeing a timeline: 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. Why is this timeline important? What are we trying to define over here? So the presentation of COVID-19 can be broken down into three main phases. Starting off with acute COVID-19, where the signs and symptoms of the COVID-19 last for up to 4 weeks. Ongoing symptomatic COVID-19, where the signs and symptoms of COVID-19 are ranging from 4 to 12 weeks. Next up is the post-COVID syndrome. Now, what is this post-COVID syndrome? So the post-COVID syndrome over here, the signs and symptoms that develop during or after an infection consistent with COVID-19 continue for more than 12 weeks and are not explained by any alternative diagnosis. Right. Now, coming to long COVID. So what is this thing called long COVID? The World Health Organization has coined a certain term called long COVID, also known as long haulers. Yeah? So long COVID has been commonly used to describe signs and symptoms that continue or develop after acute COVID-19. It includes both ongoing symptomatic COVID-19 from 4 to 12 weeks, and it is also inclusive of the post-COVID-19 syndrome. Now, this post-COVID syndrome is 12 weeks or more. Yeah, I can understand this kind of a new term, but still the long COVID is not still a new term. It is getting quite popular, and it is explaining the illnesses in the people who have recovered from the COVID-19 but are still reporting long-lasting unusual effects of the infection, right? So again, to recapitulate, the long COVID includes both ongoing COVID, that is from 4 to 12 weeks, and the post-COVID-19 syndrome, which is 12 weeks or more. Okay. So moving ahead to the causes. What could be the causes of the long COVID syndrome? So see, to actually tell, it is not known why the symptoms persist in some persons, whereas some other people's recovery is prolonged. And So these are the list of the following possible causes of the long COVID: the inflammatory and other aberrant immune reactions, deconditioning of the body because of lack of exercises and movement, the high doses of steroids. Now, all of us know that steroids have been the backbone of treatment for the COVID patients, right? So, high doses of steroids are being used for COVID treatment, and they are one of the most important frontline drugs in the management. But as with any drug being used, it does have side effects. So, a possible side effect from the usage of high doses of steroids in COVID treatment is something called as a black fungus, which is again quite popular in the news, where we are seeing quite a lot of cases of the black fungus. Now there is the yellow fungus, the green fungus, etc. So, quite a lot of COVID patients are falling prey to it. So, yeah, steroids do have side effects, and one of the side effects could also be the long COVID syndrome. Other factors could be mental factors like post-traumatic stress, damage of important organs like lungs, kidneys, damage of the joints, damage of nerves, and inflammation of nerves. This is a very vital point, right? So, which I will be elaborating further on this particular point. Persistent viremia is another cause. Weak or absent antibody response, relapse or reinfection. Now, coming to the risk factors, or should I put it in a simple way, who are most likely to suffer from the long COVID? Anyone above the age of 50 years, because we all know as the age increases, the immunity kinds of comes down. Obesity, overweight, being overweight is another huge risk factor. Women are more likely to develop long COVID than men, although they are less likely to develop severe acute COVID. Anyone with a history of asthma, allergies are predisposed to develop the long COVID syndrome. Anyone having multiple symptoms at presentation. For example, if someone suffers from more than 5 symptoms during acute COVID, like a cough, headache, fatigue, muscle pain, diarrhea, loss of sense of smell, loss of taste, etc., he or she is more likely to suffer from long COVID. Coming to the symptoms of long COVID. So, what are one of the most common symptoms of this long COVID? Intermittent fever, fever on and off is a vital symptom. Headache, body pains, muscle pain, depression, shortness of breath, brain fog, chest pain, joint pain, cough. These are all few of the very common symptoms. Right, so moving ahead, fatigue, it could be general or post-exertional fatigue. Fatigue is one of the most common symptoms. 93% of patients experience fatigue. Respiratory symptoms.
I didn't get that.
Include persistent shortness of breath, disorders. Cardiovascular and heart-related symptoms include palpitations, arrhythmias, postural tachycardia syndrome, etc. Gastrointestinal symptoms are nausea, bowel changes, indigestion. General symptoms include persistent fever, chest pain, rashes, loss of smell. Metabolic symptoms include worsening of diabetes or underlying metabolic disease. Psychological symptoms include sleep disorders, mood changes, etc. Okay, so this is quite a long list of symptoms which we have just seen through. Now let's come to the effects of long COVID. Right, so effects of long COVID, I would be discussing on the specific part of the body, how it is going to get affected. Okay, yeah, so first let's go to the respiratory system. Respiratory system, I mean, the most dramatically involved system in COVID, as we all know, is the respiratory system. Respiratory system includes the lungs, the air passages, etc. So, almost 15% of patients of long COVID have lung related problems. The most dramatic effect of cytokine storm, No, cytokine storm is nothing but the inflammation. Whenever someone gets COVID, in the first week, it will take time for the onset of symptoms, where initial mild symptoms will be there. And the second week onwards, it is supposed to be one of the most important phases where one has to look out for certain thing called a cytokine storm, where there is huge inflammation going to happen in the body, and one of the most common cause of mortality or death in patients is the cytokine storm. So what happens in this cytokine storm? In the respiratory system, there is going to be the lungs, the inner architecture of the lungs is going to get affected, resulting in a mismatched ventilation perfusion ratio and hypoxia. Hypoxia means decreased oxygen in acute COVID. So what we need to remember is, however be the COVID, once affected, the lungs may not recover quickly and completely. This is a fact, guys. So there might be damage of alveoli, might be lung fibrosis, secondary infection like tuberculosis is also there, and these damages are manifested as persistent cough, difficulty in breathing, chest pain, etc. The other system affected with serious consequences is the heart and the vascular system, or the cardiovascular system. So the heart muscles might be damaged by viral infection or inflammation. This is called myocarditis or cardiomyopathy. So another information, I was just going across this certain piece of news which came across is the Pfizer vaccine, which is being used in US for the general population. They have reported it to have a certain side effect called myocarditis or pericarditis, or in simple terms, bulging of the heart. Of course, this is not a common side effect, rarely seen, but it is a side effect which is being brought to the notice of the officials or the authorities. So anyone taking a Pfizer vaccine, do make sure that whenever you develop symptoms like irregular heartbeats, chest pain, shortness of breath, make sure to visit a healthcare provider. Yeah, so let me continue with the cardiovascular system. So these changes in the cardiovascular system are presented by palpitation, that is fast heartbeats, chest pain, shortness of breath, swelling of legs, etc. Abnormal clotting is another reason for deaths in patients suffering from COVID-19. So it is a problem where what happens is this clot formation can happen anywhere in your vascular system or in the arteries and veins. Especially if it happens in the blood vessels of the heart, it can result in a heart attack. What happens is the clots go and accumulate in the coronary arteries, they block the coronary arteries, and it can result in a heart attack. This is mostly seen in acute COVID, but as per findings, it can be seen in long COVID also as a late manifestation. So, other than damage to the heart, there may be damage to other organs as well, like kidneys, eyes, brains, etc. How? By blockage of the blood vessels supplying these organs. Deep vein thrombosis and dislodgement of these thrombi and occlusion of other organs is a serious long-term complication. New onset hypertension in a normally normotensive person. That means anyone who was not having BP, after getting COVID, they can develop high blood pressure. So this is another long-term consequence of the COVID infection. Moving ahead, let's have a look at the brain, the central nervous system. There might be damage to certain areas of the brain. It could be the small areas, the large areas. Whenever there is a damage to the large areas, it is manifested as stroke with paralysis or even death in some cases. Mostly seen in acute COVID due to thrombus formation of the blood vessels of the brain. Again, clotting happening is leading to such problems like strokes. Damage of the small areas is manifested as loss of memory, convulsions or seizures or fits, headache, vertigo, brain fog, etc. Now, this term called brain fog is again becoming quite popular. So, what is this brain fog? Brain fog is a term used for a combination of symptoms of cognitive function derangement, What are those symptoms? Forgetfulness, lack of concentration, lack of clarity of mind, and confusion. Apart from damage of the brain cells, there may be damage to the nerves as well. Lack of sense of smell or taste is very common in long COVID as well, similar to acute COVID. There may be inflammation of the nerves called as neuritis and also damage. Now, a very important point which I would like to drive through over here is alteration in nociceptors causing increased pain sensation. So, why have I highlighted this in red? What you need to understand is whenever someone experiences pain, right, it is when the nerves they carry the signals of the pain and they take it to our mind. So, these relaying nerves are very important. What happens is the nerves contain nociceptors. Many of the time, the nerves can become very, very sensitive. In certain times, overtly sensitive. So, a patient before COVID might not be experiencing certain kind of pains, or the certain kind of diseases would have been masked in that patient. The pains would have been less. Whereas after getting COVID, all of these things get unmasked. And believe me, a lot of patients coming to me to the OPD post COVID who have suffered from COVID are coming back with very severe pains. So this could be a very important mechanism where there is alterations or changes in the nociceptors resulting in increased pain sensation. Leading to also there can be features like tingling sensation, pain, nerve pain all over the body. Now coming to another very important system, the musculoskeletal system. So musculoskeletal pain is very common in COVID and long COVID patients. Inflammation of joints, that is arthritis, muscles and tendons is very common and causes pain, pain and swelling of joints, weakness, fatigue, etc. Headache, neck pain, back pain, knee pain, you name it, they are all there. Shoulder pain, small joint pain, all of these are very, very common. Some patients who are prone to develop arthritis genetically are unmasked and develop frank arthritis called reactive arthritis. Muscle inflammation or myositis is another long-term effect. Patients who were already suffering from different types of chronic pain like spondyloarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia are the worst sufferers. Pain management in COVID is an important, challenging task of physicians treating COVID and long COVID patients. Now, coming to the liver and digestive system, about 30% of corona infected patients suffer from liver inflammation and the liver enzymes are elevated. Sometimes the enzymes remain elevated and take a long time to come to normal range. These patients present with dyspepsia, flatulence, indigestion, gastric problems, pain in the abdomen, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, etc. These symptoms may persist longer and may be aggravated by the addition of steroids and painkiller medicines. Coming to the psychological system. See, the neuropsychological changes are most common and they last long. This is the sad part about long COVID. Anxiety and depression are very common along with post-traumatic stress disorders. Studies mention that post-traumatic stress symptoms are found in almost 96% of patients admitted with even mild symptoms. This is quite a high number. A web-based survey by CDC on mental health during COVID-19 pandemics mentions that almost 31% patients suffer from anxiety and depression, 26% from stress-related disorder, and 10 to 11% had suicidal thoughts as well. Many of the psychological changes persist for a long time too. Coming to other systems, the kidney and the excretory systems may be damaged with inflammation and microembolisms. Urea and creatinine levels may remain elevated for a long time. Skin also can get damaged and present with skin allergies, skin rashes, etc. So, let's look at the management or how are we going to treat the long COVID, right? Yeah. So, regarding management, what is the most important thing is that we need to understand that mild symptoms are recovered spontaneously. So do not be anxious. right? The following certain things, which I am going to elaborate in the further slides, are simple steps which can even be done at home. First and most important, read and know as much as possible about long COVID, but do not get panicked. Light and graded exercises go a long way in helping people recover from the long COVID. Meditation and yoga have a holistic effect on the body, mind, and soul. Good and adequate sleep is of paramount importance. Monitoring is very vital. This is a simple chart which I have put up. This is the monitoring chart. You can see over here day of symptoms and time every fourth hourly. Temperature, heart rate, the SpO2 by using the pulse oximeter, temperature with the thermometer, and then the breathing and how you are feeling. So this is a simple chart which anyone can follow when someone is infected or affected by either the COVID or the long COVID. So healthy diet, I think I don't have to stress more upon this point, that how valid and valuable eating a healthy diet and what a huge difference eating a healthy diet can make to us as well as our immunity. Should avoid certain things, avoiding like smoking, avoiding spicy food, avoiding junk and oily food is very, very important, because we are trying to build our immune system over here to fight this deadly virus. Now, coming to long COVID in primary care, still there is an uncertain picture about this. So, investigations, clinical testing is not always needed, but certain few simple important investigations are there, like a complete blood count, serum electrolytes, liver and renal functions, troponins, C-reactive proteins, D-dimer, ferritin, BNP, etc. Other investigations are the chest X-rays, the urine tests, the ECGs, etc. Remember, these are for the long COVID, what I'm talking about. A clinical assessment is very, very important, which includes full history and examination, where we are going to look at the temperature, heart rate, blood pressure, respiratory system examination, pulse ox, functional status, clinical testing if indicated. Managing comorbidities is very important, especially because patients suffering from diabetes, hypertension, ischemic heart disease need to be taken extra care. So, when does the patient need to seek medical advice? Whenever the breathlessness is worsening, the PaO2 is less than 96%, unexplained chest pain, new confusion, focal weakness, a specialist referral may be indicated based on the patient's symptoms, like to a pulmonologist if there is severe pneumonia, pulmonary embolism, a cardiologist if there is suspected MI, heart attack, pericarditis, myocarditis, neurologist if there is any acute neurological or neurovascular event, and pulmonary rehabilitation is of paramount importance. So the medical management, symptomatic treatment can be done, that is treatment of fever with paracetamol, optimize control of long-term conditions, consider antibiotics whenever there is secondary infection, and treat the specific complications as indicated. Self-management is daily pulse oximetry or monitoring. Give attention to your general health, like concentrate on diet, sleep, quitting smoking, limiting alcohol and caffeine. Rest and relaxation. Self-pacing and gradual increase in exercise is when you're trying to get back to normal by setting achievable targets. Mental health is of a lot of importance, where you need to seek mental health support. As I have discussed in the previous slides, the effects it can have over the central nervous system and the brain. Right? Now, other things which we need to concentrate on is in the community. We need to make sure that patient peer support groups have been made so that the patients do not feel left out. Mental health support services are also of utmost importance. Now, finally coming to a doctor consultation. Remember, whenever there is a long COVID, something like that, there are n number of channels from which you can get the information. And what is important is from where you're basically deriving the information, right? So there are a lot of myths going around, and people tend to get scared and do not have a clarity regarding COVID or anything else when they see WhatsApp messages, Google, etc. A lot of things online, it ends compounding your own confusions. So always remember, expert opinion is always of valuable importance. Do reach out to your consultants, do reach out to your respective doctors in case of any doubts or queries. Do not heed to any hearsay. So I am an interventional pain physician. So let's see, if a patient comes to me with long COVID or any of such symptoms, how can I, or how can a pain physician make a certain difference to that patient? So long COVID, 70, almost as we were discussing the incidence, right? 1 in 7 patients suffer from long COVID. So 75% of COVID-19 patients suffer from symptoms post recovery. Most of them manifest with pains all over the body and the respective joints as well. There is no specific pattern, but yes, musculoskeletal pains, joint pains are very common in patients suffering from the long COVID. So let's look at how chronic pain and COVID-19 are in, and what are the various effects on COVID-19 and chronic pain. So one thing what we have to know, that see, even after recovering from the COVID-19, most of us want to get back to our daily activities, but still, because of the impending lockdowns in one state or the other, most of them are forced to carry on with the work from home. Whenever you are working from home, it does have certain effect on your bodies. A poor posture can result in all kinds of disastrous back problems. There is isolation, there is loneliness, concentration issues and headaches are also very common, and the muscle pains, be it back pain, neck pain, arm pain, these are all common. So they can be treated with medicines and physiotherapy. As a matter of fact, there is a surge in the number of post-COVID clinics which are on the rise. There are almost, in many of the hospitals, there are a lot of centers opening up post-COVID clinics. So these are basically multidisciplinary team approach managed units where the patients recovering from long COVID are referred to, and holistically and using a multi-strategy approach, they are managed, where physiotherapy is a very, very vital component, right? For other patients with muscle pains or trigger points which are not getting reduced by the conventional medications, because if you remember, I had said that the sensitivity of the nerves is on the rise. So now the pains which are coming in patients with long COVID are no longer getting relieved by conventional routine measures like painkillers, physiotherapy, etc. So for such patients, is there a hope? Yes, there is. This is me doing a trigger point intervention in one such patient. So this patient had severe back pain, and which was not responding to any kind of medication. So what we do over here is, whenever a muscle goes into a spasm, the muscle is made up of muscle fibers, right? The fibers tend to entangle and form knots. So what we do is we release these knots. So this intervention is called as a trigger point intervention, and as you are seeing over here, I'm using an ultrasound. So we do all the interventions or all the procedures under image guidance, and after post the intervention, the patient had very beautiful relief from the muscle spasms. Back pain is a universal issue now. People working with working anywhere, working, having a desk job or working from home, back pain can be just limited to the back, or they can be associated leg pain as well. And the leg pain is referred to as sciatica. Sciatica is again a common term which most of us would have heard. It's like an electric shock shooting kind of a pain which is spreading from your back to your legs. Right, these pains are also on the rise. So for pains not being managed by conventional measures, we do something called as spine interventions. And as you are seeing, we use the image guidance over here to make sure that we reach the exact target of the painful area. Over here, I'm using a hybrid technique wherein the ultrasound and the CM, the fluoroscope machine, is being used. Yes, since the cases are on the rise, we have to use as much precautions as possible and extend the same safety to our patients as well. Knee pain, again, knee pain is very common. As I was saying you that arthritis is getting unmasked in a lot of patients. A lot of patients who were fine with their knee pains, who were trying to manage the knee pains with medications, regular walking and everything, post COVID or suffering from long COVID, these pains have become very, very resistant. So there is a need to address these pains. So osteoarthritis of the knee, what actually happens in osteoarthritis of the knee, as you are seeing over here, this is a picture of the knee joint. This blue is the articular cartilage, right? The meniscus is seen. There's a normal gap between the two bones, is a normal joint space, and due to aging, due to wear and tear, this cartilage gets damaged. So this is osteoarthritis of the knee, and what actually happens over there. Now, osteoarthritis of the knee if it is in the early stages, then regenerative medicine options like platelet-rich plasma, etc., give very good response in these patients. For patients who are with severe osteoarthritis, who do not want to undergo a surgery, for such patients, we don't leave them to just suffer in pain. There's a new advanced treatment called radiofrequency ablation, which is there, wherein we target these yellow parts. This is the knee joint, what we are seeing. These yellow things are the nerves which are supplying the knee joint. So these nerves take the painful signals from around the knee joint. So what we do in radiofrequency ablation is we use a special electrode tip wherein a radiofrequency lesion is done around the nerves, and in simple terms, these nerves are temporarily blocked so that the patient experiences sufficient pain relief. Alright, so this is the radiofrequency procedure which we commonly perform in our center. And here is actually, this is the vessel, this is the bone, and then the nerve is somewhere around. So what we are doing over here is, by using this technology, we are actually isolating or identifying the actual location of the nerve which needs to be ablated. And once we have identified the location of the nerve, we do something called a radio frequency ablation, wherein this is the needle, and this thing which is pulsating over here, which is moving, you can see over here, is nothing but the vessel close to the nerve. So the needle is close to the nerve, and then we start with the lesioning. As you can see over here, this is the machine which is used for these interventions. So these are few of the things what we use over here for patients suffering from chronic pains. But what you need to remember is, the most important thing are, prevention is better than cure. So best is stay away from COVID, try to protect yourself, and don't try to contract this infection. How can we do that is by using the age old techniques which we have been knowing for the past year now. Social distancing, wearing a mask, all of these things do help. At least 6 feet or 2 arms length between people is what is very protective, and it reduces the transmissibility of the COVID 19 infection. Washing your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds is still vital, because we know that respiratory droplets could be the main source of the infection. Avoid social gatherings. Right, we are witnessing the second wave of the COVID 19 pandemic. We have the Delta variant now, but as per recent news now, I think all of us would have known that Delta variant plus is also present, and it is literally threatening to be the cause of the third wave now. So we need to literally be very vigilant now, so that we don't repeat the past mistakes and do not become the cause for the third wave. So guys, avoid social gatherings as much as possible. Remember, wearing masks, social distancing, washing your hands often, these are still of paramount importance. Lastly, the COVID 19 vaccine. Yes, vaccine has shown quite a good response in fighting this pandemic. Believe me, these are facts which I am actually going to speak. In the past second wave, when there were hordes of people getting infected with the COVID 19 infection, a lot of patients were being literally admitted in the hospitals. Some patients were worsening, and they had to be shifted to the ICUs as well. To the ICUs means be it on the ventilators or on the respiratory assist or support devices. The patients who had taken the vaccine, be it 2 doses or even patients with even 1 dose, most of those patients could come out of the ICU. Whereas the same could not be told for patients who were not at all vaccinated. So remember, vaccine, yes, does help, and whatever side effects are being told of the particular vaccines, it is basically like a risk versus benefit ratio. Uh, Now, getting infected with the COVID is very, very common, especially with the Delta plus variant. Now, the transmissibility of this variant seems to be notches higher compared to the other viral variants which were there. So, remember, getting vaccinated is very important. Any vaccine is fine, be it Pfizer, be it Covishield, be it Covaxin, be it Sputnik, anything. At least get a vaccine done. There are now there are a lot of centers. Our center itself, Alleviate Pain Management, is offering COVID vaccination shots. So anyone who has not got vaccinated, kindly come over and get your COVID 19 vaccination done. So, finally, let's come to the conclusion of this topic for today. So, long COVID can have a devastating impact on the patient's mind, body, and soul. It is essential to be aware about it and take necessary actions to fight against it. Remember, a multi pronged approach is always key to its management. With this, I end my presentation. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.